Hi, everyone. There's a million things I haven't done, but this episode is now one. Let's just dive into the fact that Alexander Hamilton, whether you believe in his philosophies, his federation, the way that he redid government on a financial level, let's just all take that aside. And let's also remember that this was great artistry as far as the play goes as well. I'm completely just in awe of how Lin Manuel Miranda, which I have a tiny crush on, by the way, was able to create such a musical play and then turn around and star in it. I would admit that my favorite crush character is probably Thomas Jefferson, but we'll get more into him later. But all in all, the fact that they were able to do this to feature hip hop, R&B, and just show tunes in general, and then won 11 Tony Awards, a Pulitzer Prize, and a Grammy, like you know that this is going to be big. Like you know that relating to such a sensation in such a profound way as human trafficking is going to be. I'm going to go in the exact order of the play. Whenever genius has been created, I don't like to mess with it. I did consider, okay, this could be a really longer series if I go through every single song, but there is some songs that are reformations of other songs that I'll probably combine in one way or another. But as far as the story goes, and as far as the genius that was already presented through Lin Manuel, why would I change that? Why would I alter what's already beautiful in so many different ways? So I'm going to start just as the play starts, just as the story starts, in a lot of different ways. It also starts with my journey as a survivor and the grooming process that comes with human trafficking, what childhood setup could lead to such a horrific crime in other areas, and just understanding some of the relations between the character brought to life as Alexander Hamilton. So I highly encourage, as you go through all of these, to go onto Spotify or wherever you stream your podcast or you watch your Broadway plays. By all means, if you want to buy me a ticket, I'll go straight back up and watch that show with you time and time again. But I encourage you, support the artistry, go listen to the individual songs right before you listen to this commentary or to this connection. I feel like if you haven't listened to Alexander Hamilton or the Hamilton play in quite a while, you may not fully grasp the connection. I'm going almost line by line as far as lyrics go, but in some cases, I am a different person, and Alexander is a different person, and Lin Manuel creating this masterpiece is also a different person. I do have a dream of sitting down with him and just figuring out his concept of how he was able to create this. But more importantly, I think it's just time to take it all together and go for it. Okay. Here we go. Starting with Alexander Hamilton as song number one. I love how the entire play starts what could be seen as just this gaping truth of what's going to happen next. This is really amazing that the very first character to sing in the play is actually Aaron Burr. I'm going to have a whole lot of spoilers in this, but I'm assuming if you're here to have this recollection with me, that you've listened to the play, you've watched the play. So Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr is enemy number one. This is as if you are having your traffickers start out telling your story. And in such a profound way, I think of that it's kind of true. To have your traffickers plan out crime to somebody that's going to be a victim of human trafficking is essential. They have to have a very highly organized plan, and it's a crime as old as time. Human enslavement is not new, and it's never going to end. I'm going to be very much a realist if we can continue to keep up the good fight. But as long as humanity keeps going the way it does, it's always going to be a fight that everyone needs to get involved in. We can reduce it, we can right wrongs, we can correct as much justice as we can for our communities, for our government, but it is an ongoing fight. With Aaron Burr being the very first person that gets to speak in this entire play, I truly wonder if Lin Manuel was thinking of it the way that I was thinking of it. Right off the bat, I have the lyrics that I relate to. As far as he goes, how does a bastard, an orphan, a son of a whore, a Scotsman dropped in the middle of the forgotten spot in the Caribbean? Just stop there. I'm not even going to further. He's clearly identifying all of the grooming mechanisms that are going to be this mysterious person that we're talking about. Now, I know what it's like to be in a country that I don't know the culture. I am actually Scottish in heritage. So when I relate to that, I was like, oh my goodness, we're already kind of being dropped in here. I grew up in the modeling industry. At the right young age of 8 years old is when my career started as being a child worker, as being a child model, a actress, a performer, someone that my means were very humble. My family was very young. My parents were very young when they had me, and I'm the eldest of my family siblings. So there was a lot of pressure. I spent a lot of time alone trying to navigate the realities of my family was not rich. We needed to get our act together in order to get out of this turmoil. So there was going to be a bit of a battle in that. But it goes on because by providence, impoverished, in squalor, like all of these things I heavily relate to, and so many other survivors, whether human trafficking or just survivors of really hard circumstances in childhood, can get. They can get on board with that. They can really relate to them. And then to grow up to be a hero and a scholar. Now, I'm never going to say that I am a hero of anything. In fact, I might be the anti-hero in a lot of different ways, but I will relate to being a scholar. As someone that's finishing master's and doctorate for psychotherapy and counseling and dedicated to that craft, someone that I have degrees from my undergrad, and I'm a heavy advocate for human rights these days. So to get from that, impoverished, no one can believe that you become anything, to actually achieving some goals despite all odds, and then have your enemy tell that story, it's profound. But we're going to keep going. Again, we're just getting started. But now we have like John Lote and Lawrence coming into play, and he's talking about, some of the things that had to happen for this to manifest for Hamilton. And yet we haven't even actually announced who this character is. Spoiler alert. But, founding father, he had to work so much harder and be smarter and a self-starter. A lot of these you can relate to as far as if you were somebody that was coming up from the bottom, trying to figure it out. We get Jefferson in there, and he's actually kind of comparing the situation overall to what's going on in humanity. And This is very relatable both for the Thomas Jefferson character, because he is more diplomatic. He is more, how do I say, someone that's just trying to go with the flow, not necessarily bring up like some true issues, but does have a holistic point of view. So he is talking about how there's slavery going on and there's struggle around everybody, and so many people are having to beg and steal and barter to be able to survive. We get Madison in there, and he's talking about, okay, not only is Jefferson pointing out all the wrongs of the humanity world, but we also have actual issues in our climate, in our environment, like the issues that we should be fighting. So he brings up the hurricane, he brings up devastation, things that humans, again, since the test of time, have had to deal with. But what he highlights is that this person literally had to put a pencil to his temple and connect it to his brain. This person had to really get into some self-awareness and self-actualization of what was going on to explain his pain, his testament. And I shared in the very first episode that my book was written. I used my book as a testament for survivors, but also a testament to my pain that this reality happens even today. And when I first heard the lyrics of Hamilton, it was after I published my book. The book came first for me. So when I heard about Hamilton and listened to all of these refrains, I feel like someone's speaking to my soul, because I know how painful it is to write down the worst events that have ever happened to you on paper. So we get back into Burr, and basically he's saying, this person, this kid is insane. And there has been several times where I've had to do insane acts, not only to survive, but to really hit home on how important human trafficking affects humanity, affects our society, affects survivors. And I say the community, not just the survivors. It affects everyone involved. And the fact that Burr brings up, hey, we took a collection to send him to the mainland, to give him a new life. I have to highlight, and I'll do this probably in a separate episode even further, there was nonprofits and government entities and police and law enforcement that gave me that opportunity to escape, to be able to be free, and to give me a new lease on life. So again, survivors understand that. They understand what it's like if they've had kindness come from what they don't believe is good anymore, humanity, to give them a new life and to get education and to actually, you can't really forget. It said, don't forget whence you came. Like, you cannot forget the time that you were enslaved. Your memory might actually protect you. Your brain has a lot of beautiful mechanisms that can block off memories for survival. But as you go through the healing journey, even those become unlocked and need to be processed to be able to become stronger and fully healed. But this is right off the bat saying, hey, don't forget whence you came. And the world is going to know your name. What's your name, man? I'll be honest with you. I had no idea that model stock traffic was going to impact my life the way it did. When model stock traffic came out, I was in the middle of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was a small group of a nonprofit called Elite Foundation, a beautiful nonprofit. And they helped me write my book and edit and publish it. And we had no idea the impact it was going to have, that it would lead to me speaking on stages and bills being passed not only in Florida, but in New York, and the influence that it would start to bring about more survivors telling their stories. So My goal was never to become known for this. I just knew it couldn't stay inside. But then they announce it. It is proclaimed. It's Alexander Hamilton. And what I love that Lin Manuel did here was it was actually Alexander Hamilton that got to speak his name in full first. Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton. And there's a million things I haven't done, but just you wait. Just you wait. That, if you really need to know my personality, is me in a nutshell. Eric Kramer. My name is Eric Kramer. And there's a million things I haven't done, but just you wait. Just you wait. All right, now I get into Eliza, which, if you don't recall, that's actually Alexander's wife. And she's going more into, what's happened, what's made him who he is, probably why she fell in love with him. And she goes back to the childhood distress of his parents. His father split, he left. He was debt-ridden. His mother soon got sick, and she dies. So he's alone. He's an orphan. He's alone in this turmoil. And I can very much relate to being in a dark space where I don't know if I'm ever going to see my parents again. I don't know what's happening next. In this case, he's right there with you. George Washington steps in and he goes, okay, this is what he did to basically move forward. And he goes, he moved in with his cousin. The cousin committed suicide. And it left him nothing but ruined pride, something new inside. This gets deep for me, but I remember what it was like being amongst other survivors. I'm not even going to call us survivors at that time. I'm going to call us victims at that time, because we hadn't quite moved into the survivor mindset of moving forward with life. And something that's super important that everyone needs to realize about human trafficking survivors is there is a hefty rebound rate of survivors either committing suicide after escaping or being rescued from human trafficking, as well as returning to their traffickers because they don't feel like there's any hope outside of that life. One of my dearest friends falls into that category of committing suicide because she was not able to receive the resources she needed to move forward. That line will forever hit me amongst all of the songs that we're going to go through as one of the hardest lines to truly digest. It goes on to say, Alex, you got to fend for yourself. And that very much is a survivor mentality of you're alone, you've got to fight, you've got to keep going just to move forward. So, again, they're reinstituting the concept of he had to do what it took. He started working for his late mother's landlord. He was working for scraps. He was trying to come up with this grand scheme, this plan to be able to elevate, to be able to move forward. And he's keeping that faith. And it's so hard to keep that faith. If you are somebody that's been through trying times, there's been so many times that you are like, I'm done. I quit. I can't. So he was different, though. I was different. We're different. And he goes in the company, we are waiting for the wings for you. Waiting for the wings for you. And literally, we need you to come and fly. We need you to overcome. We need you to rewrite the game. Change the world. Be different. Be the change the world needs to see. So we're going in and we're reaffirming, again, horrible circumstances, pride being challenged, ego, enemies everywhere. And then we point out that America forgot him. And yet his enemy, Bert, says, America forgot you. That is such a trafficker tactic. I cannot Explain further. Traffickers do their best to demean you, to make you feel less than, to lose your identity, to crush your spirit. And by Burr going in there and saying, America forgotten, it's like saying, you are forgotten. Nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody cares about you. And to be quite frank, America can be like that with human trafficking survivors. They can 100% act like you no longer are valuable in this society. And that is what we're challenging through this series is America's not going to forget because people like Alexander Hamilton and myself and you are making sure it's not being forgotten. So they all go into their personal stories of how they know this person. And I often wonder that when I am done with my time on Earth, if people are going to be like this with me, if they're going to be like, hey, I was a survivor. We fought with them. I was an advocate. I fought with her. And then maybe other people are going to be like, I want to die for her. Like, I died to be able to live for her, whether it was died in ego or died literally. I trusted him. I loved him. And me, I'm the damn fool that shot him. If you have not been shot, then just count your lucky stars. I'm not going to say just you wait. My prayer to you is that you never get shot or stabbed or anything. That is no fun. Nobody likes that. But either way, if you have been shot or you have been stabbed, then you know that is a painful feeling. And you don't always get to hear somebody say that they were foolish for shooting you. But there's a little bit more to divulge there. I'll get into that part later. But at the end of the day, we get to hear the enemy, Burr, saying, what's your name, man? And not just Alexander, but the entire company shouts Alexander Hamilton. That is profound from the beginning of how it started to the ending. This person came from the bottom, rose through the ranks, tooth and nail, clawed their way up to the point where he makes a difference and impacts several people's life. An entire nation is born. And everybody remembers his name. I can't wait. We're just getting started. I am already getting full body chills of how impactful this is. So until then, I'm not going to waste my shot.